Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting with the Board of Selectmen. Today is June 6, 2023. Is there a motion to call the meeting to order?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business we have, gentlemen, is an introduction to the newly appointed library director. We have Jen Alves, the chairwoman of the Library Board of Trustees. Welcome, Ms. Alves.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, as you said, I'm here to introduce our new library director. She has a lot of library experience. She's got a fun and energetic personality, and she is going to be a great asset to the town of Acushnet. So without further ado, Elizabeth Vitello is our new library director.
Thank you.
Introduction. Thundering.
Bring in the thunder already. Bring in the thunder.
I just wanted to say thank you, and I look forward to working for the town again. I'm actually thrilled to be back. I would like to remain on good terms, as in terms of the library and the town. Dina did a wonderful job representing the library, and I want to keep that I want to uphold that that value that Dina brought to the library, to the town of Acushnet. I'm always here for anything. My office door is always open, and if there's anything you ever need, you know where to find me.
Okay, great. Excellent. Welcome back to Acushnet.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
awesome to have you, and don't worry about, keeping all the values up. The Board of Trustees,
Yes.
they keep everything
Yes.
afloat over there. They do a fantastic job. We're fortunate to have so many great people
Yes,
on
we
the
do.
Library Board of
Wonderful,
Trustees.
wonderful
Mr.
team
Chairman,
staff.
first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's awesome. It's
Thank
not very, it's not very often you get to a point, a department head in such a visible role with the community. So this is really cool stuff. And I know Mr. Ingley probably had something to say, but I did want to ask something to think about, because technically Russell Memorial, that building is still under the ownership of the library trustees, or has that been
Town.
it's been back to the town?
That's back to the
All right,
town.
Great. All right, then skip that. Then.
Okay, all
I
right.
think that's going to be a
Recent-
project that we've got to figure out what to do with that
Right.
building.
Right, definitely.
If you have any ideas, we'll take them. So.
I don't have any ideas about that, but I do have ideas about the general library signs. I don't think there's one in the town. The general blue sign with like the stick figure reading a book. There's not one in the town, and I've looked at Department of Transportation website for the state. But that's as far as I got, because it just got a little complicated. And that's something I would like to actually have in place in the town. There might have been one at one point. I don't know if for the Four Corners, if there was one there, and I know unfortunately accidents happen there. I don't know if there was something there, but I couldn't find any on my way in from South Main, and I come up Niles Lane also. So.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
I
So
think that's a good idea.
look into it. We'll
Yes,
figure it out.
will do. Will do.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Chairman, if I may.
Yeah. Mr. Ingley.
Welcome aboard, Ms. Patello.
Thank you.
To circle back to your comment about
Yes.
your office is always open.
Yes,
Ours
yes.
is too. So if you need anything,
Mhm.
by all means, feel free to reach out
Mhm.
to us, and we're excited for you to jump in and
Excellent.
see what you have to offer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
All right. Gentlemen, the next thing we have is our annual appointments. And tonight, the Board of Selectmen is making annual appointments to various committees and boards. At our next meeting on June 20th, 2023, the board will continue making more appointments. Town government relies on its citizens to volunteer their time and talents to make government work. Citizens volunteering in town government is a strong and historic tradition in Acushnet. Without citizens, volunteers participating in government, shaping policy, and protecting the public interest, Acushnet will not continue to grow and prosper. The following committees and boards need volunteers to ensure the quorums can be met and that the town's business is conducted. Agricultural Commission, 2 alternate members. Beautification Committee, 6 vacancies. Board of Appeals, 2 vacancies, 1 alternate. Bylaw Review Committee, 1 alternate. Community Preservation Committee, 1 vacancy housing, 1 vacancy resident. Conservation Commission, 4 vacancies. Cultural Council, 1 vacancy. Finance Committee, 2 vacancies. Historical Commission, 1 vacancy. Open Space Committee, 3 vacancies.
Conservation, what is it, 7, is it a 7-member?
It is a 7-member board, and we do not have a quorum now. We've had several, I believe. We just got a letter from one of them, Miss Evelyn Boulay, saying she was not interested in being reappointed. Mr. Rocha submitted a letter of resignation, been the chairman for, I think, 21 years. Or 17 of the 21 years he's been on there. I don't have the letter in front of me. We'll be reading that, and I guess the June 20th meeting, we'll read that letter. But he's staying on board, I believe, until July 12th was his date. And again, when you were chairman just a few short weeks ago, it was Ryan Pimentel had resigned as well. And Richard, is it Richard Pimentel? Yeah, Richard Pimentel. Thank you, Mr. Hinckley. And there was a member that was kind of on there, but I think it was Mr. Valenti, maybe?
Correct.
That was on there, but he was kind of never on there, and he, I guess, maybe got appointed in previous years without wanting to be reappointed. So with that, I'll start with Agricultural Commission. Scott Harding, Agricultural Commission, Joseph J. Pereira, Norman York, Thomas Whitehead.
And those are the only ones that were up?
Correct.
Correct, okay.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
American
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Thomas Whitehead is an alternate.
Correct. American Disabilities Act Coordinator, Andy Barbola.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Animal Control Officer Inspector, Rebecca Tomlinson. Animal Control Officer Inspector Assistant, Ann Estabrook.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Beautification Committee, Brittany Patello, Kelsey Janik, Janine Perry, and the rest of vacant spots.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
Bob, I know between the two of us, we know Kelsey, but over the last couple months, we talked with her about the beautification committee. I think she's looking for a little guidance. She wants to go, but doesn't want to do something and step out of line.
Perfect.
So maybe we can invite her in
Absolutely.
to a future meeting
Yep.
and just, say,
Yeah,
hey.
Kelsey has a lot of excitement towards
Rock and
this
roll.
town, and she wants to get as involved as she can, and,
Cool.
she's definitely a person that fits this role pretty well, so.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it'll give her some time to come up with some projects and
And
work.
recruit some people, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe recruit some extra staff to get out there and help out. All right, Bylaw Review Committee, Board of Appeals, Robert F. Brown, Thomas Whitehead. He's down here as an alternate, but I'm not sure if he's an alternate or if we should take him off because of the vacancies now. We also have problems, just so everybody knows, the Board of Appeals is a very important board. They don't meet a lot, max once a month. It's a pretty decent board to be on. We need people because other than that, we can't provide, Board of Appeals can't provide special permits and or variances for people that want to do projects where the bylaws just don't allow them to do those projects, and that's what the zoning Board of Appeals would do. So they don't even have a quorum anymore, and that's a supermajority board. So anybody out there that's interested, the Board of Appeals is a very important board for the town of Acushnet. We'd appreciate some letters of interest. So, does the pleasure of the board want to make Mr. Whitehead? He's been on the Board of Appeals for quite some time. I would think that you would want to move the alternates up as permanent members. We could do that, and if not, we could change it back to an alternate, but if the board so chooses, I think it's probably a good idea. His attendance is pretty straight up.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. If you sign up to be an alternate, usually you're okay with being a full
When there's a
member.
vacancy, you usually take an alternate, that's been participating, right? So we'll make Mr. Thomas Whitehead, a regular member of the Board of Appeals along with Mr. Brown.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bylaw Review Committee, John Howcroft, Robert Hinckley, Pam Labonte.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Community Preservation Committee, Heidi Lynn Pelletier, Robert Gilmore, Evelyn Boulay.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Conservation Commission, Everett Filler, Ryan Resendes.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Constable, Frank Adesso, Mark LaPlante, Kelly Tomlinson, Herb Vandal.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Council on Agent, Linda Gilbo, Deborah Reposa, Pauline Texera.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Cultural Council, Linda Gilbo, Stephen L. Watts.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Deputy Building Inspector, Nathan Dowling.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wire Inspector, Frank Knox.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wire Inspector Deputy, Doug Corrigan.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
EMA Director, Thomas Fowler. EMA Director Deputy, Ed Karen.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Enforcement Agent for the Board of Selectmen, Andrew Barbola.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Finance Committee, Robert Ferrera, Eric McGlynn, Robert St. Jean.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Forest Warden, Thomas Fowler.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Golf Management and Operation Committee, John Abery Jr., Robert Ferrera, David Flynn, Manuel Goulart, Ed Isaac.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Heron Warden Assistant, Scott Pertadeo.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I apologize if I messed up your last name, Scott. Historical Commission, Pauline Texera.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Inspector of Garages, Thomas Fallon.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Insurance Advisory Committee, Retiree Designee Sue Pickard.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moth Superintendent, Inspector of Pest Control, Dan Menard.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Gasper, please make sure your wallet is available for the first inspection.
Okay, boss. Open Space Committee, as I announced earlier, 3 vacant seats. Parking Officer, James Kelly.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Portable Sign Committee, Andy Barbola.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sealers of Weights and Measures, Theodore Machado. That's it, it's Theodore Machado.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Shellfish Warden Harbor Master, Robert Maderas.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Kind of comical, huh? I say that every year too. Soil Conservation Board, Robert Hinckley, Kevin Gasper Senior, David Wona.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Special Police Officer, City of New Bedford Waterworks, Dan Menard.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
CERTA Representative, vacant Selectman seat. Any volunteers? There's not much going on with it.
I mean, I'll do it. It's fine. It has to do with the bus routes and stuff.
Motion to appoint David Wona, CERTA Representative.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wona. All those in favor?
Aye.
Street Naming Committee, Thomas Fallon, Chris Richmond.
Motion to appoint.
Tax title. Yes, sir.
No, second.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Tax title custodian, Jackie Boudreau, treasurer collector.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Town treasurer collector, interim, Jackie Boudreau.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We also have that in our book to discuss.
Correct.
Where, I think that's supposed to be seals or weights and measures or whatever, it just says where now. Tilcon Capaldi / PJ Keating, Nancy Franco, Claudio Moco, Jen Olivera, Bryant Ribeiro, and Jonathan Souza. Is there a motion?
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. A discussion, Ms. Labonte had contacted me on the Commissioner of Trust Funds, John Roy. Mr. Wona and myself are familiar with him. He was actually a write-in candidate for Library Board of Trustees, and he got that. And then he was apparently written in on both slots for the Commissioner of Trust Funds. He can only accept one position. So he accepted the 3-year term. There's a partial position that needs an appointment. That'll be a joint meeting between the Commissioner, the remaining members of the Commission of Trust Funds, along with the Board of Selectmen. It'll be a joint meeting. More than likely, we will be doing it on July 20th. So at that point,
On July 20th?
I think so.
June 20th.
I'm sorry, June 20th. I'm a month ahead of everybody, I guess.
Don't push the
June
time that fast.
20th, I apologize, June 20th. It'll be a joint meeting, and it's, we'll get into the details about it later on, but, so, I'm responsible to ask and start the advertisement. I need to notify the public 7 days' notice for letters of interest to the Board of Selectmen's office. If you have interest in serving the Commissioner of Trust Funds, 7 days, so we'll keep it open, I guess, until the Thursday we close the agenda, right, Mr. Kelly?
Very good.
Okey-dokey. And that's that. And we got, next on the agenda is vacation carryover request. We go through this every year, we try not to do it. Mr. Kelly's done a pretty good job of trying to narrow down the amount of time people are carrying over, because if you're doing it this year, you're carrying over next year, da-da-da-da-da. And that snowball just continues to get bigger and bigger, and it can be extremely detrimental to an office. So we have a list, and some of these folks, no fault of their own, due to vacancies inside of their departments. The first one would be Sandra Maderas. She's looking to carry over 60.5 hours. I know she's taken up some vacation time now, so this is just a preliminary. I guess we're gonna authorize a maximum carryover, but some individuals may use time prior to the end of the year. So this is just kind of a preliminary. This is what they have on the books now. So Sandra Madeira, she's on vacation now, so some of these hours will come down to a maximum of 60.5 hours. The finance department, same situation there. You all know that we have a consultant working on a temporary basis as a town accountant, so Nick Monticello. He was looking to split it. Now he wants to buy back all 70 hours, and he does have the funding in the budget, so he would like to buy back 70 hours and get rid of his vacation. Which is kind of nice. Police Department, Courtney Soers, from her hiring date, from the agreement, she wasn't eligible to 6 months, so it's gonna carry into the new year. And it's actually a benefit for our police department due to the deficit and overtime now, so it actually helps us out. So that's that. Conservation, Joanne DeMello, 35 hours. I don't know if Mr. Kelly's got anything to add on that, but that's what she's looking to carry over. If she can't burn up any of her time. Selectmen's office, again, Tanya Tavaz. We only have one person working in the office, no fault of her own, 30 hours. Treasurer collector, Carla Moreo, 25 hours. Again, same situation. We're doing another interim treasurer collector. She's going crazy in the office, trying to carry all the weight, not an issue. Karen Amarillo from the collector's office, 35 hours, and then Heather Chu from the Council on Aging agreed to buy back 18 of her hours. So it's I guess the motion would be to approve to the maximum amount as shown, but most people will probably be using up some of their
Subject to use.
Correct. That'll be up to the treasurer collector and town administrator and Nick, the assistant town accountant, to keep track of all that for the carryover for the following year. But they're gonna try, Mr. Kelly's gonna try to do what he can to get people to burn up their vacation time before the end of the year.
Before they burn out
Yeah.
by not taking vacation.
Some offices, there's I don't see really how they can not take the vacation time. I'll leave it at that. So that's that, and we might have some more coming in.
I know we have, the golf committee is sending a couple up, they told me.
Okay.
So that'll be in the next
Yeah,
meeting.
that's fine. So is there a motion to authorize maximum carryover, but some individuals may use time prior to the end of the year?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and I'm pretty sure we established under Chairman Wona a cyclist pedestrian safety committee to take a look at signage and things of the like, some, the fog lines being painted on the side of the road to give bicyclists their kind of right of way and signage and things of the nature. So with that, we already have two interested individuals in town, Amy Gordon and a Laurie Bates. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gentlemen, do we want to just put a cap on that committee? I mean, do we want to say it's 5 or do we want to say it's 7? I don't think there's any reason to have more than 7, but
I'd say 5.
Five
If
seems
they
like,
have a quorum,
Go
all
with-
you need is one more.
yeah, you go with 5 and we'll see how it rolls. I mean, if you get a whole bunch of interest in it, then we can, if we want, we get up at the 7, but
You see how it rolls?
there you go. All right,
I think 5's a good idea.
so the motion to appoint Amy Gordon and Laura Bates, that's been done?
Yep, so moved.
Okay,
Second.
thank you.
I think we go.
All right, next order of business is the Serped appointment, and that's Stephen Boucher.
Motion
Is
to
there a
appoint.
motion to appoint?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Just so the board knows, Mr. Boucher accompanied me to the annual Serpent meeting. He's become very active with some of the staff up there,
Good.
and I think it's going to be a great appointment.
Excellent.
Very good. And we're gonna strike 5. We've already talked about the Conservation Commission and their openings. Again, another important committee, Conservation Commission, Board of Appeals. If you have any interest, please submit letters of interest ASAP to the Board of Selectmen, and only to the Board of Selectmen. Thank you. Number 6 is not necessary, so number 7 is an appointment of interim treasurer collector. Gentlemen, as you know, we've been buying some time with the treasurer collector's position through some hard work of Mr. Kelly, Mr. Todd Hassett, our town accountant, recruiting some of these folks. Again, we were fortunate enough, without too long of a lag time between Angela departing the town of Acushnet a few weeks ago and getting Miss Jackie Boudreau on board. I'm told that Mr. Kelly had a conversation today. She should be coming in tomorrow.
She's
As long as we
gonna
make-
fill out the paperwork tomorrow.
As long as we make the appointment. She's got an abundance of experience, so it looks like she'll be a great candidate for the town of Acushnet.
And she did work here years ago.
Several years back, she absolutely did. I think it was 2005 to 7 or something. From 2003 to 2007, she worked as the assistant treasurer collector, to be exact. So she knows a little bit about Acushnet, which is nice to have. It's nice to have some of these folks coming back. So is there a motion to appoint Jackie Boudreau as the interim treasurer collector?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have some hires for the golf course. And the golf course, Mr. Isaac sent it over to us, golf course staffing additions at our May 25th, 2023 committee meeting. The golf committee voted unanimously to recommend hiring 4 new part-time seasonal employees. Operations, Matthew Manise of Acushnet Clubhouse staff, Matthew Catacox of Fairhaven Clubhouse staff. Maintenance department, Paulo Labray of Acushnet, machine operator, William Aviza of Acushnet greenskeeper. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nice, we got 3 residents over there. Good job, golf committee. Okay. Next, we have this Slocum Street for Opera, something that we've been going back and forth for a little bit with. Mr. Kelly, myself, Kathy Silver from DPW, Mr. Menard. And the original quotes, I won't go too crazy. On the original quotes that we've received, we bounced it back and forth. It came in at $4.2 million, I believe it was, Mr. Kelly?
Yes,
So option number 1 was $4.2 million, and then I kind of got involved after a few scheduled meetings between the town administrator, Mr. Menard, Kathy Silva from DPW, and Woodward and Curran. And then we started talking about stormwater, because of all the MS4, and then I got a little more educated on stormwater, so the cost went from $4.2 million with concrete sidewalks, basically, new road, new upsized water infrastructure pipe, and new services to everybody's house, up to almost $6.7 million, all due to stormwater. Well, after I did some research, it doesn't look like the town, I'm not gonna say we don't have to comply with it. The Slocum Street will be considered a redevelopment project versus a new development project. The standards are a lot less on a redevelopment project. So that's something that Mr. Kelly and I and Kathy Silver and Dan Minato work and hammering out some of that scope of work from the 6.7, try to get us back down to that 4.2 number. It was really what the goal is gonna be, because I think they put things in there under certain assumptions. So we're gonna be hammering them out with Woodward and Curran to figure out what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. Obviously, we'll work with the stormwater agent on it as well, and we'll figure out where it's gonna go. But as of right now, that's where we stand. It's mostly the funds that we have for it. I think it's 1.8 million from the...
It's 1.5 million from the transportation bond issue and 2.8 from ARPA.
Correct. The county funds is 1 million, is it? 1.8?
Approximately.
Yep. And then we got another million that from the Fed funds that we've brought in some money, so. And then we talked about using some water reserve funds, but hopefully we'll be able to get the transportation bond bill. That's been sitting out there for quite some time from Rep. Strauss. He's the chair of the Transportation Committee, so hopefully we'll be able to get him to finally release that. He's been sitting on it. They've been sitting on that for, I don't know, probably
They won't release until we have actual plans.
Correct.
So,
Yep. So,
Chairman, I appreciate your, your work on this project, but I'm personally, I don't want to say troubled, that sounds a little bit too alarmist, but I think a project of this magnitude deserves an RFP. I mean, I understand Woodward and Curran's done a lot of work with the town, and I'm willing to at least concede some of the dollars to get this up and running, to make sure that we don't lose out on ARPA funds. But I mean, we kicked the tires with another firm, and we saw that didn't yield great results. I just think if we've got a fully transparent, vetted RFP process or RFQ, something that
We
encourages some competition.
We did do an RFQ, an RFQ process, and Woodward and Curran with the
We put that out,
about,
we advertised that? I don't
Yeah.
know. When,
2 years ago, when I first got here, or a year and a half.
I don't know if I recall that process being a,
And it was put out through the Register and the Commonwealth. It's not unusual to go this way and get the design. Once you get the design, everything else is going to go into the full bid process.
I understand that, but again, we did speak with another firm, right? And
Well-
so, I just think, again,
Well-
to not have a vetted, to get some competition here, right? I mean, Woodward and Curran, looking at this project without any competition, and that may have been done 2 years ago, I don't recall that process, but if it was done, a lot has transpired in 2 years.
It was done a year and a half. When I got here, they were starting the process. And the second firm was not a bidder. It was, we asked them to peer review
Right.
this.
Understood, right, so that's my point, right? Like, so getting multiple eyes and multiple submissions, and it may net out with Woodward and Curran, but I do think there's gotta be some.
the second firm,
RFP
actually, that we
process.
had look at it, Mr. Kelly had done that through the opera consultant. That firm kind of did it on the side and went through all the numbers. I got that information in there. and their bid came in $4,000 more than Woodward and Curran, and their scope of services had the town doing quite a bit of their own work load inside of it. We don't have time for Dan to be playing games and getting records of this and doing things like that. And I said, the scope of services is gonna be pretty right on with Woodward and Curran. If the other engineering firm came in $4,000 more, they have to have some real agreement on the scope of services of work. So, I mean, I don't wanna delay this project.
And one of the
Nor do
reasons-
I, right? I mean, I look at Slocum Street as a linchpin to reconstruction and redevelopment of South Main Street, ultimately having a bylaw that passes to allow 55 and older housing in the former Titleist property, continuing the Riverwalk. So I find, Slocum Street is a huge priority. I know for Mr. Gasper, who's been the point person on this, and for me personally. But I just think when we're dealing with millions of taxpayer dollars, we've given greater scrutiny over like departmental budgets that don't even net out to $65,000 versus a multi-million-dollar project that in this, where we are, I just think there needs to be additional scrutiny. I'll go forward with the initial phase to get this off the ground, but I think moving forward, there should be additional
All of
scrutiny.
the construction will be put out for competitive bid. One of the reasons Woodard and Curran was able to do this is because they already have all the information and background plans.
I get that. I understand all of the reasons as to why, but again, without having a competitive bid process today, I think puts us at a disadvantage. We don't know, right? We don't know.
I think
But again, I'll do it under duress to move it forward, but I think moving forward, we've got to make sure that this thing is properly vetted and where we are. I mean, we are the protectors of the taxpayers' dollars, and I would just feel very uncomfortable moving forward with millions more dollars not going through an RFP process.
I always say this, it's always taxation, right? But it's not from the general fund taxation. This is from ARPA funds, the transportation bond bill, and that's pretty much it to get that. We're fortunate, I hope, to get all of that county money. If we don't get moving, we're subject to lose that million from the county.
Right.
So I don't want to be losing any money if certain things happen down in Washington DC, whatever it may be. However, that money's going to be retracted. So if we get a project dedicated to it, we can start drawing off our county funds, and they can't take that back from somebody who's.
But for every dollar we save,
did put a request out, and what we got was Woodard and Curran coming back, because obviously they have all the records for all the
understand that.
work.
Every dollar we save here in administrative engineering goes into cement and
Correct.
rebar and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff. So that's the goal, right?
Well,
because if we can't meet the project, if we can't, if this construction exceeds what we have for ARPA dollars, then we're probably gonna have to go to the taxpayer, right?
So there's a line item inside of here, and it's from the other firm that wrote down some line items that says construction admin, right? That's basically the project manager, and that's $500,000. So there's some creative ways that we can go about doing this, and I don't see how you're gonna have a project manager sitting on a job site, laying a water pipe in the ground, for crying out loud, tying in some services and doing some sidewalks, and in the end, paving a road, quite honestly. How that justifies somebody getting paid $500,000. So there's a lot of scrutiny that's gonna be had. They went with previous bids that were out there and what project costs are running right now. We don't know. It could be 3.5 in the end, what somebody bids on it, or it could be higher than the 4.2. That's everything that needs to be worked out and what's in the scope.
This action is for retaining an engineer to design. The estimates that were given were just estimates. They are not part of this process.
I understand, it's the process. I just want to make sure that we're not, we could have acted on this a while ago, and I know we're up against the gun. I don't want that to be the driver of the project moving forward to some, I want to make sure we get it right. I have
Correct,
trust
I
in you,
agree.
Mr. Gasper, I have trust in Mr. Kelly, but I really want to make sure that we are not rushed into something with a firm that we just happen to have been using for years, who, you know, I don't want to get into
Yeah,
performance.
I hear you.
right? So, anyway, okay.
Mr. Chairman, you need these motions individually?
Yeah, I guess. Yep, all three of them need to be.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve the engineering services proposal for Slocum Street infrastructure improvements dated February 20th, 2023, including a scope of services with multiple phases and deliverables for the amount of $416,250, submitted by Woodward and Curran to be funded with ARPA funds, and to authorize the town administrator to execute said proposal.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve the Master Professional Services Agreement Standard Terms and Conditions referencing and detaching a scope of engineering services proposal for Slocum Street infrastructure improvements dated February 20th, 2023, in the amount of $416,250, as submitted by Woodward and Curran to be funded with ARPA funds, and to authorize the town administrator to execute said agreement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, to move to approve the grant agreement with Bristol County for ARPA funding for the Slocum Street project, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute said agreement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. So, I know that we'll be doing, and that's, in that second motion, that's an agreement where we only pay incrementally as work progresses. So I think at any point, to go to Mr. Wona's point, is at any point if we get at a place where we're not happy, Mr. Kelly, you listen to this?
Yes.
We can shut that spigot off, right?
Yes,
Correct.
it's a monthly pay for work done.
Correct. So as things are getting done, it'll be billed to us. It's not a one lump sum, you know, get what you get. So if when they're gonna do a couple of meetings, public meetings with the board, with the public, to go over the project, scope of the services, you know, hopefully on a big screen, to show what's going on, what we plan on doing. I would hope that they would at least show what the existing road layout looks like now, what the finished product would be, to get that support.
And you'll get the results of the tests and the borings.
That's correct. There's a
and
lot of work,
everything.
pre-work to do before we can even go out to bid, because we have to understand what's underneath the road.
I'd like to put a marker down, and the board, this is just something that I'd like the board to consider at least vetting or looking into. We've been sitting on a vacant we've got a vacant lot, a car lot, automobile, whatever it is, it's been vacant for 20-something years. And seriously think about that project either through eminent domain or looking for additional grant money for some type of municipal parking situation to help the small businesses, you know, Captain's Place, the Mill, Dunkin' Donuts, JT's, whoever's there. You know, we've got Surf and Turf, what I hear might be a Chinese restaurant or some, you know, a sushi place. We don't have any parking. That's the only logical step, even if it frees up 7 or 8 spots.
Oh, you get more than that, you take down those buildings.
You know, so I would just ask that as we're dealing with the engineer, that we keep that in as an option, as part of the plan. I know they've talked about, like, well, there could be tanks underneath there. I think with the state, the way things are going now, especially with their interest in South Main Street, you know, if they were to say, hey, as long as you're not disrupting anything over there and you're just capping it, that we wouldn't have to do something with removing tanks. But I would just ask that we keep that front and center of this project, because I think that's the only shot we have at doing something for that district.
So I agree 100% with you, Mr. Wonat, because back in the day, not too long ago, actually, I inquired about that property, and I talked to some old timers in town, that have a little background over there, and come to find out, a few phone calls were made while I was in certain people's homes, and come to find out that there was one tank on the outside of the building, but it was like a heating oil tank. It wasn't used for waste oil and things of the like. So, you know, I think the possibility, and that's always been a worry of everybody's, what am I buying, what am I buying? My career path changed, so I had no more use for that property, because it's already set up for the automotive thing, right? And the garage actually has heated floors, so it was attractive for me to look into it, but my career path had changed several years ago. So, I just stopped looking into it, but I think, you know, if we have somebody go out, as Mr. Warner's alluded to, and do a little bit of pegging, I think we'll find out that there's not much really there.
Yep.
So, I think that it's a great idea to try to, the buildings aren't doing anything, and Mr. Warner just said, I think it's been probably 20 years that nothing's been happening, so if we can do something to help out parking to our local businesses, you know, you got the JTs, I know they're doing something in the front where Jeffrey's used to be, they moved up where Saskatoon Pizza is, and I know that somebody's inside that front building now doing some renovating. I don't know if that's gonna open up as something else, but I know that's always been a concern, a safety concern for people that are going there for pickup. They have no place to park,
Yeah.
so there you go.
When they park all along the side of Slocum as it is. and-
Right.
Yep, so we can definitely look into that too. All right, so Mr. Kelly, we got that off the ground and moving. You need to work with Jen.
I
From,
asked
Consultant
that the members of the board stop by the office in the next couple days. Tanya will have the documents prepared, and then we'll have them certified by town clerk and submit them.
Okay, very good. So the next order of discussion is OPEB PAS. That's Plymouth County. Remember discussion under Chairman Wona, we discussed moving OPEB funding from the state OPEB fund over to the Plymouth County fund, OPEB fund. I think the fees, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Kelly, is basically 50% of what we're paying into the state.
Yep, 50 to 60%, yep.
So there's a big savings there. They've sent over, they gave us 4 different categories for investment choices. I think that's something that, you know, we'll have to figure out down the road. Mr. Kelly told me the other day when we were having this discussion, I'm good with moving the money, as long as the board's good with moving the money to Plymouth County. Their performance is better than the state's performance. We'll figure out what 4 categories once we get, if we decide to move after tonight. We'll figure that out. But Mr. Kelly's told me that it takes, I don't know, 6 to 9 months to go through the paperwork to get it, the amount of money that we've originally, Mr. Noble originally put into the state OPEB trust fund takes quite a bit of time to get it out. However, the town has funds that we've never, Mr. Kelly never moved into that state trust fund, so those funds we could allocate into the county, the Plymouth County, and get that ball rolling.
You've lost money being in the state system. You would have broken even if the fees had been what they are at Plymouth County, in spite of the history of the stock market, etc. But with the fees that the state charges, you're in effect losing money.
So it's to the purview of the board.
So what would be the
Again,
motion to,
I would need a motion to move and to authorize the town of Acushnet to participate in the Plymouth County OPEB Trust Program and to appoint the town of Acushnet treasurer collector or her successor as the plan administrator on behalf of the town, subject to the advice and direction of the Board of Selectmen on portfolio determination.
so move?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly? We can get that moving.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wona, traffic, presidential terrace signage, you had brought it up at the last meeting, saying you'd like to, you know, update the board on some ideas over there.
Yeah, so I met with a constituent of ours, Mr. Rich Delgado, who we all know is a resident in that area, and had some concerns about traffic and signage and making sure that the residents of Presidential Terrace had proper safety measures in place to be able to cross the street, take advantage of the walking path, so on and so forth. He was very concerned, and hats off to him for bringing that to our attention. We asked Mr. Kelly and the safety committee to meet and look at that, and Mr. Kelly's ready to report back.
The safety committee met. The 2 discussions were the signage and the line of sight on the road of where to put a pedestrian crosswalk. And we are still determining where we would put the pedestrian crosswalk. The signage will be similar to the signs in front of the church, where someone will hit a button and it'll show the pedestrian crosswalk sign with the lights flashing, so they'll know that someone's going across. And while we did this, we also looked at it for Lake Street, because we think that signage there is necessary for people going back and forth. So we are waiting for the police and fire chiefs. They went to look at it for their determinations, and safety committee will reconvene, and we will, we've got the DPW is ready to order the signs. We've got the money for it, so we're ready to go.
Can we?
Excellent.
So I would ask that you just get a hold of, is it Lynn who runs the presidential terrace?
Yeah.
Just to get her let her know what's going on and feedback. But I think the board could vote to authorize funding to get the signs moving.
All day
And then it's
long.
just a matter of determining where the crosswalk would be.
Absolutely.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We got the money, right? I mean, they can't cost that much.
Yep.
The only comment I wanna make is, and I couldn't agree more, Mr. Prado lives right by there, he's like, you know, he's got bird's eye view of that. And you talked about where the crosswalk, we're gonna paint that crosswalk across the street, right? You gotta do it, you know, probably on the crest of the hill, because when you're coming from the New Bedford side up, you can't wait until you're coming up and over and go, oh my God, because those people are clipping by there. That's the real reason for this whole signage thing, right? So you gotta make sure that that sign or crosswalks, you know, a little further up, maybe from where the entry is to the nature trail, but it's gonna be at the crest of the hill so people can see it before they hit the crest of the hill, they start and go, whoa, and cars is jacking up brakes. So I just wanna be conscientious of where that goes.
We talked about the lines of sight,
Yeah,
and
it's important.
a couple of us went down with our phones taking pictures to see.
I'll tell you what, we'll just go down here, you walking back and forth like a duck, and I'll just sit by and
Well,
I'll let you know.
we've got the
When I hit you, it's no good.
we've got the Canadian geese going
Yeah.
across.
Yeah, well,
That's
They slow things down, but
The
a
geese are the
natural
only
crosswalk.
reason why people slow down in that area, and anything we can do is a good thing.
yeah, some people do clip by there. I was telling Jamie on Venice Ave down in Venice, Florida, where I spent a lot of time, they got a nice little system. There's all crosswalks on Venice Ave, you know, they're every 25, 30 feet. You hit the little button and the little lights go right across the street, little illumination lights, and they flash.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can see that from a good distance. You see the lights flashing, you know somebody's crossing the street. Everybody knows you slow down, everybody respects it. It's an awesome system, it really is. Maybe
Why not
someday,
us, right?
maybe
Why not
someday
us?
we start looking at, I mean, I hate to say technology because it's only lights in the ground, but that's a prime example of where something like that should
I
be.
mean, could we look into that? I mean, they have those things, they call it speed, not speed bumps, but like speed humps.
I got a
They're
speed
just things you
tables.
just drop down, right?
Like, it's just little lights in the street, it's real. I mean, I can get my buddy who lives down in Venice, he can go by there and take a picture of the system and show you flashing, or get a little video and show you guys. It's crazy. I mean, I won't be down there for a little while, but it's phenomenal, really is. And there's never been, I mean, people are, you know, they're not clipping but 20, 30 miles an hour. And you see that from, you know, 150, 200 feet away, you see those lights flashing, you already know you're slowing down. And they only go, you know, 20 seconds, 15 seconds, but it lets you know somebody's crossing the street. It's like a little Route 6 with a little island in the middle, and people are coming this way, people are going that way, so it's pretty cool.
We also had discussion on the speed limit sign,
Needs to move.
that the flashing one that tells you how fast you're
Right.
going.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you go down to the town line coming in from New Bedford, you don't see a speed limit sign until you go right by Mr. Prado's house, and you're already on a curve. So anybody coming into town doesn't realize speed limit's 20 until they're already up the hill.
Wow.
And I see it every day.
I know.
I see it every
Yeah.
single day, and people go 45, 50 before they even cross town line.
But Jamie, you're talking about one that said, lets them know how
Yeah.
fast they're actually going, like we have on Slocum Street,
Yeah.
correct?
I think instead of replacing the sign that's in front of Mr. DePrado's house, actually move that right to town line if possible. Let people know that when they're pulling into town, the speed limit's 20 right there, which it is. And I've seen the geese as the only ones that follow the speed limit there, myself included sometimes, because you don't realize it until it's too late. But it's extremely fast and extremely dangerous.
So you admitting that you speed?
Oh,
on
just when
Main
I'm
Street?
just when I'm fighting off the geese.
Oh.
Some
They move
people,
faster than me.
the chief says some people use it just to see how fast they're going.
You know what? As long as there's lights flashing, I think.
Well, so
Anything
I watched
that's
Slocum Street
safety.
for a while, and there's some people that works far, and, you know, some people, they just like, you know, ignore it. I mean, that's society. But if we can do what we can do, right, you know, to try to make Acushnet a safer place to be on the roads, right? That's our job. All right, so that's done. School solar, there's nothing really to report. We got an FYI memo from the school department for everybody to take a quick look at. No discussion tonight. Property and casualty.
I asked that be put off to the 20th.
Okay, very good. And we got some budget interdepartmental transfers for May and June. So I have from the reserve fund transfer request for legal 48,000, and for a new fire generator at the fire department from the reserve fund in the amount of $14,000. So the generator at the fire department, Mr. Kelly and I learned, I think it was last week, Mr. Kelly?
Yeah.
When we had Mr. Fallon in. Chief Fallon came in and said that unfortunately, the generator at the fire department's 30 years old, 35 years old, and it's just obviously seen its shelf life. Not a good situation if we were to lose power and our apparatuses are inside the building. You have no way of opening up doors. So it's a public safety issue 100%. So I told him we will expedite that ASAP to get a new generator installed, a state-of-the-art generator, not some old clunker
Yeah.
that barely runs and we're gonna have problems with. So that's the reason for the generator at the fire department. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next one is fire department overtime, 65,000, and we're getting it from Board of Selectmen's 10,000, planning board's 25,000, inspections, which is the building department, 25,000, miscellaneous 5,000 to equal 65,000. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next one, we're transferring 7,500 to the treasurer salaries from town buildings, 7,500. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next one, we need 20,000 for health insurance and property and casualty insurance in the amount of $40,000, and we'll be getting that from town buildings, 20,000, and the other ones, town buildings, 20,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then last is Serped, $2,138, historical for energy, $600, EMA salaries, $466. We're getting that from the miscellaneous account, $2,138, $600 from miscellaneous, and then $466 out of the EMA equipment line item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town administrators report?
We've been doing mostly work closing the books, and we'll have a report at the end of the fiscal year on that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. And you're gonna have a conversation with the employees about buyout and trying to use up the vacation, right?
Yep.
Okay, very good. On the selectmen's announcements, it's here again, opening for the Commission of Trust Funds, again, 7-day notification period. Hopefully we'll get somebody appointed on our June 20th meeting. And again, the emphasis goes on Conservation Commission and the Board of Appeals. We need members. We need strong members for both of those boards and committees, right? You have to be willing to say no, you have to be willing to say yes, and da-da-da, but it's not always just a rubber stamp, and sometimes you have to make hard decisions. We understand that. The Board of Selectmen do it all the time. It's part of the job.
Mr. Kelly, question. So, worst case scenario, nobody steps up. We don't have a conservation commission, we don't have the ZBA because nobody wants to do the job. What's the option?
With the Conservation Commission, if no one stands up and you do not have a quorum, then applications go through by default.
Same with ZBA?
Yeah, ZBA.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess we'd have to look into that one. I don't know the legal laws on that. That's a quasi-judicial body of government, so I don't know how that would work. We'll check on
Yeah.
ZBA, but that's dangerous if that happens.
Yep.
That's why I said the importance of ZBA conservation is of great importance. It's sad to see people leave.
Planning, ZBA, and conservation, you do not want to lose control
Right, oh
of
yeah, yeah.
your town.
I think after 90 days, once something's submitted, after 90 days, it goes under constructive approval, right?
Right. So it's
That's,
by
I learned that from
default.
planning board. I mean, that's dangerous, and people stop putting these projects out. God forbid if that happens. It's not, residents won't be happy if that happens, so, you know,
You'll see,
That's why I asked the question.
you'll
Yeah.
see solar arrays everywhere.
Now people know, right?
it's extremely important. I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, you know, there's other boards and committee that they're all important. I don't wanna diminish the importance of any committee. But when it comes to conservation, with all the things going on right now, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to that. In zoning board of appeals, we do not want that to start happening in the town of Acushnet, where things just go under approval, constructive approval. That's very dangerous.
With no review.
Correct. So, that's that. Is there anything other on the selectmen's announcements from my colleagues?
Did a good job. You shook off the rust, Mr. Gasper.
Thank you, sir.
Well done.
Waking up.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
Just to kind of touch back on what we were just talking about, if anybody has any questions, reach out to members of the boards and the committees. Ask them what kind of time they put into it. Watch the videos on YouTube. I have firsthand experience of people mad about how things work in this town sometimes. And the sole answer I give everybody is step up, get on a board, get on a committee, and if it doesn't work, you don't have to serve after next year. You give it a shot and just try. But reach out to every member of every committee that you have information requests from, and they will all help you. They will all tell you what it takes. And I think it'll actually be beneficial because you'll find it's rewarding.
Well said.
Very good. The only other thing that I have, I guess I'll do it now. I know it's June 6th, but I see the signs everywhere in town. I just want to say, as I do every year, congratulations to the class of 2023 that are graduating this year. Great job to all of you folks. I see a lot of signs out in people's front yards, so congratulations, and tell mom and dad to take you to Disney World or something, will you?
Or at least to dinner.
When Captain's place.
Well, you know, we go to one of our local restaurants, right? But congratulations to all you folks. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Happy Father's Day too coming up.
Oh, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Thank you, Mr. Hinckley.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.